Hi, everyone. I'm Giselle with For the Punks, an online publication and resource for fans and creators to connect, learn, and grow. I'm here with Lo, also known as Lovely Ocean. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your music.
Of course. I'm Lovely Ocean. I'm a rapper, songwriter, I don't know, artist in general. Let's see. And yeah, I be rapping and stuff, trying to make this music work and whatnot, but also, working a regular job, navigating through life.
Yeah, as I'm sure a lot of us are right now. You released your first single Wednesday with that hippie D this year. Um, and it's like the vibe that I got was like a chill, kind of like very 90s rap inspired. Can you tell us more about how that like single came to be?
Oh, yes. Which is actually a pretty funny story. Well, it's not really funny. It just is what it is. So originally I had been working on an album that I was supposed to release at the beginning of this year. And I was going through it and I was like, okay, there's one song on here I don't really like. So I took it out and I'm like, well, now I need a song to replace it, even though it already had like 12 tracks on it. And I'm like, does it really need to be replaced? And so I ended up writing this song because number one, every time I would ask my friends, like, oh, like, what should I write about? What should a song be about? They'd be like, oh, it should be about like our friend group in high school, because we used to do very like particular activities. And I would always be like, oh, okay. Like I kept it in my mind, but I would like never do it just because I was like, how am I gonna formulate this in such a way? And so I decided to finally write it once I heard the beat. And I named it Wednesday because that's when we would all gather and do these activities. It was Wednesday after school. And it just so happened to be like, it worked out because on the album lineup, it was like number 6 of 12. So it was like, oh, also in the middle of the album. But none of that really matters anymore. And so I ended up recording the song. Originally, I did not like the second verse that I had written for the song. I was like, there, there's something about it that I don't really like, but I still like submitted it anyway to my manager, be like, okay, yeah, it's done. Um, and I want to say maybe like a couple months ago, I had posted a clip of me rapping the first verse on Instagram. And this other artist I know, ThatHippyDee, he hit me up because we went to high school together. And he was like, yo, like, that was really dope. And I started writing to it like immediately. So I was like, okay, like, what do you have? Like, I'm trying to hear this. And so he showed me his verse and I was like, oh yeah, I really like that. I really like that. And I was trying to see like what can I do because we had already submitted the album for distribution. And so I asked my manager, like, is there any way that we can pull the album? Number one, because I wasn't really feeling it anymore because of like some other issues with distribution. And so first I thought it was too late, but then she hit me up and say like, oh, I was able to like get the album pulled. And at first I was like, oh shit, like I forgot that I had asked to record that. So I was like, no. But then it gave me an opportunity to be like, okay, now I can really like go over this album and see what it is that I want to change about it. And so one of the first things I did was um, I changed Wednesday. I got rid of my second verse completely, added his. He sent me like his vocals and any other like little ad libs he did. And yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna release this as a single. Came out on a Wednesday, which was also my birthday. Um, and I was like born on a Wednesday, so everything was aligning. And
It
I
was
was like, I
lining
like how
up.
this looks. I like
Yeah,
how this looks. And yeah, that is essentially the story of Wednesday.
that's so cool. And it's so funny, like small world because your song's about like your friend group and then you recorded it with that hippie D who went to the same high school.
Exactly. So it's like we're kind of doing the same things, but in different groups.
Yeah.
So it all
Really
tied together
cool.
and it worked.
It kind of it was meant to be. um, I have questions about your songwriting process, but I want to ask because you mentioned how you didn't like the second verse that you wrote. How do you like decide? You're like, I hate it and I'm gonna submit it, or like, this is the one, I'm gonna submit it.
Right. I'll be honest, like sometimes I'm just real terrible with it. I'm like, oh wow, I've listened to my voice so many times that I'm irritated. I don't want to hear it anymore. This is good
Yeah.
enough. But then I go back and I'm like, like really? This is what was on the brain. Um, so gosh. Yeah. Can you remind me of the question? I'm sorry.
How do you decide? Oh my God, I feel like I forgot the question. How do you like know, like, okay, this is the version I'm gonna submit versus like, this is what I'm gonna scrap?
Yeah. If I can listen to a song and not cringe like at all, I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's fire. Like I can listen to it. But if I can listen to a song and be like, if there's even just like a little bit of a wince, I'll
Mhm.
be like, I don't know about this one. But
Yeah.
with that second verse, I was definitely tripping. Like when I go back and listen to it, like I clearly was like in a rush for that second verse because the first one
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm in my bag. But the second one, I was like, I don't know. I think I wrote on a different day too. It was just not hitting. Um, so yeah, it just depends like how am I sounding on the track? Like, did I do I know these words well enough to make it flow well, or does it sound like I'm just kind of like reading off of my phone? Which,
Yeah.
a lot of my early songs were like that because I was literally reading off my phone. like, like, okay, how do I do this? So yeah, I just have to have an ear for it. Like, I don't think other people will tolerate this.
Yeah. I have to ask too, because like as like two like creative people, and I've also asked other people I've interviewed, when you release something, do you listen to it again? Because I don't. If I write something, if I'm recording this interview, I'm not watching it again.
See, me too. And it's hard
I'm glad.
because it's like, but you're on it, like it's yours. And I'm just like, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's that's the problem.
Yeah. Like if I'm in the car and one of my songs comes on like shuffle, I'm like, nah.
The first one, like, all right, skip that one.
Yeah. And people are like, why don't you want to listen to it? I'm just like, you know what? Like it just feels different when you're the one like oh, that's me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like this weird kind of like disconnect at times. Like, is that me? Yeah, it is me. Why do I sound like that? Do I want to hear myself right now? Not really. So yeah, it's hard for me to like really go back and listen to myself unless I'm on a feature.
Mhm.
Sometimes that can be hard too. So
Right. As soon as it gets to your part, you're like, all right,
I'm
next.
like, like, oh no, I'm on this song. Let me skip.
Where does the name Lovely Ocean come from? I'm sure you've been asked a bunch of times, but
Yeah, but it's always a fun story. I don't even know if it's fun. I'm just saying that. Um, so originally, my husband, his Instagram name was Lovely Ocean Waters because he had used a random name generator, and that is what came out of it. But he's someone on Instagram who changes his username quite frequently. So it's like always changing. So I was like, Lovely Ocean Waters. And I was like, all right, like that's cool. And so then one day he changes it again. And I was like, that Lovely Ocean. I was like, yo, do you mind if I like take your last username? And he was like, no, like what the fuck? And I took it and that's basically how I became like Lovely Ocean. It was just like what should my name be? I don't know. Lovely Ocean. It's like, but I don't even be like going in the ocean like that. Does that make sense? But I was like, I can admire the beauty of an ocean. Like, come
Mhm.
on. Sure, I don't want to go in it, but
Right.
it's
But it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah. And so that is how I became Lovely Ocean.
That's so cool. Was there any other name that you were like, I could go by this? Or was it just like you saw Lovely Ocean and you knew that was the one?
Because I was like, I don't know what else to call myself. Like, some people just call me Low or like Lolo, but I was like, do I want to go by that? Like, maybe just like as a shortened version, but then just seeing Lovely Ocean, I was like, why not? That's
Yeah.
different.
Your songs Depression on Tour, which is really good. And even No Down Payment kind of have to do with like mental health. And I heard that you were a former therapist.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, how does that translate into your music?
Who quite a bit. Like, yeah, the mental health discussion really comes to the forefront in a lot of my music just because before I even became a therapist, I was suffering from depression and anxiety and all these other things like when I was younger. And so I don't know, like talking about it just kind of came naturally to me because I'm a pretty like shy, introverted person. So I wasn't doing a lot of talking just in like my daily life about what I was feeling and whatnot. But I was writing. I was writing about it. So I've always just kind of been able to express myself that way. And so when I make music, it's like, well, I know about mental health stuff and it kind of helps that I know like specifics about mental health and different diagnoses. And I'm like, wow, like, how can I try to fit, I don't know, diagnostic criteria into this bar? I don't even know if I've tried that. Maybe with my song Anxiety from like my first mixtape. You can check that out if you want. But yeah, so having that background, I feel like shit. I mean, I'll be honest, like being a therapist for me, it sucked. It sucked. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of, when I was in high school, I kind of like romanticized this therapy because I started going to therapy when I was 17. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my therapist has helped me so much. And I want to help other people too. And I had like this tunnel vision just like throughout like my senior year, like, okay, I'm going to go to college and major in psychology. And then I'm going to go to grad school. And thinking back on it, it's like, oh gosh, like I wish I had like reached out to someone. I was like, this is clearly not exactly like what I want to do, but it felt like something that I should be doing in a sense. I don't know. But I mean, it was really cool kind of for like, I want to say like before the pandemic, because
Yeah.
once that hit, man, my mental health went out the fucking window. I was like,
Right.
and so yeah. So yeah. Former therapist, but probably like lifelong client. Which I'm not ashamed of because I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, I'm not gonna deny myself of much needed help."
Yeah. If you could go back and just like an interesting question and like, because you mentioned that you went to like college and then went to grad school. If you could go back and study something else, would you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't even know like what it would be. Maybe like graphic design or something like that.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, number one, it's hard to get a job with just a bachelor's degree in psychology.
Yeah.
So if you're typically going to go down that route, you probably already have grad school and a PhD on the brain. And I was at a point in my life where I wasn't doing the best. Like my mom had died, so I was just kind of like, hey, I'm here, just
Mhm.
trying to get by. So yeah, I would definitely go back. Definitely. I think about that often.
It's still interesting though, because you like music is therapeutic to a lot of people, and you're still kind of like providing that sense of like therapy just through like a different medium.
Yep, it's just there. It's just in
Mhm.
me now.
Maybe you were actually meant to do to be a therapist.
Ugh.
So back to your like songwriting process. What does that process look like to you? Like what comes first, the lyrics or the beat?
um, Usually the lyrics, which kind of makes it hard when I'm trying to like find a beat because I've tried producing. Um, and I feel like I am not that good at it. I need like a hands-on in-person teaching moment because I try to watch all these videos and I just can't grasp it. So yeah, when I'm writing a song, it's usually the lyrics that come first. Like I'll just get an idea when I'm like randomly doing something. I could be in the bathroom, I could be washing dishes, I could be like in the car. And I'm like, oh, like what's this? Like, I don't know. That's me trying to come up with lyrics. And yeah, and so then I'll try to find a beat that kind of matches like the the idea and like the rhythm that I had in my head. And that can be very difficult because it's like, what am I looking for? Where do I find this? Like, where do I find this sound that may or may not like exist yet? And so sometimes I'll be like, okay, this is a little difficult. And so if I find a beat that I'll like, I'll try to see if I can match the lyrics that I have like written, and try to apply them to the beat as best as I can. Or if I'm like, it's not gonna work, I'll just write to the beat if it's like too good. But yeah, my writing process is, I don't know, like it's not like the best. I haven't written a song in a minute. Last song I wrote was Wednesday. Can't even remember when I wrote it, but I'm like, yeah. So I've been definitely trying to get back into it because it's like, oh, it's the new year. But at the same time, I don't want to like push myself because that's when I tend to make like the worst songs. I'm like, right, right, damn it, right.
Right.
So yeah, as long as like an idea just comes naturally and everything else just kind of flows along, then yeah, that's my process.
Do you have any like like songs that were gonna happen? Like you have the lyrics down, but like the beat didn't feel right? I'm gonna assume yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That used to happen a lot with like my first, I want to say like my first two mixtapes. Cause I was like, I want to like a particular sound, especially with like the second one. I was like, I want it kind of like gritty and very kind of like, I don't know, like East Coast 90s type. And I was just trying to find it because I could hear it in my head. I couldn't I couldn't reproduce it. I couldn't make it. I was like, fuck. And so yeah, there was a lot of ideas that kind of are still like in my notes on my phone, just kind of waiting to be revitalized. And I might just do that because I'm like, I got some fire in there. I got
Yeah.
some verses I've written for other things that didn't get picked up. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's gonna be fire. And I'm gonna use it because hey, I wrote it.
It's already written, is gonna get used.
Yeah, like like yeah. Yeah.
Going back to this, because I feel like this is really interesting. As an introvert myself, you also described yourself as an introvert. How do you perform? Because, well, how do you find like that balance?
Yeah, that's funny because it's like performing, the anxiety that I get from performing, I don't like it. um but it's like I purposely look for opportunities to perform because I'm like, okay, if I don't perform, then like how do I kind of build a fan base and all this stuff and just like kind of garner more attention. And so I'm like, like just put it to the side. You won't be on stage for like more than 10 minutes. Like, so I have to give myself like a pep talk. My last performance was like in November, and I kid you not, for like I want to say maybe like a week leading up to it, I threw up every day, like around like a certain time of night, like around 8 at night. I just get this feeling in my stomach. I was just like, oh. But then after that, after the performance, no,
Completely fine.
fine. So yeah, I won't, yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, say be like, oh yeah, when I get on stage, like I just leave all that. No. Like the anxiety comes with me, but I try not to focus on it in the moment. I'm just like, okay, let me just try to do what I can, remember these words, make sure like I'm speaking in the mic. Because sometimes it's hard for me to like hear myself in a microphone. So I'm like, oh fuck, I don't even know like how loud I'm actually being. So yeah, I carry those feelings with me. I acknowledge them at times. And then I just look forward to the end where I can walk off stage and be like,
I
ah,
did that.
it's just like giving a presentation in class.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Cal State Northridge. And
Wait,
so,
can I like interject? We went to the same school. I went there too.
well, hello, Matador.
I know. I heard it in like an interview that you did recently, and I was like, and for like a hot minute when I was like looking at your pictures and stuff, I was like, I feel like I know her. But yeah, fun little story.
When did you go there?
I went there from 2011 to 2015. No, oh my God, no. 2015 to 2020.
Okay. I was like, oh, well, maybe, but
Oh, were you
maybe
done?
maybe sometime in like 2015, because I was done in December of 2015.
Oh, okay. So I was in fall 2015.
So
Yeah.
maybe a brief passing from, I don't know, Sierra Hall to wherever the fuck.
You got Sierra Hall.
Oh.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah. So yeah, just about performing. It is what it is. Some people like it. I try to work on my stage presence because the first time I performed, I was like I was stiff as hell. Number one, because like when I would move, the microphone that they had would go out. So I was like, yikes, I can't,
I can't even
I can't
move.
move a lot. And so I just gotta like stay in one place. So in each performance, I just try to like move a little bit more than the last. I just tell myself, just move more than the last one. Because I'm like, I'm trying to develop like a stage presence, but it could be hard because it's like, oh wow, like some people just have it within them. It's like
Yeah.
something innate, and with me, it's clearly something that has to be built from the ground
Like
up.
something that you never like really think about is like how important like your stage presence is.
Right, and you never know until like oh, I took a video of you.
No,
Like,
if
oh.
you watch it, and I can imagine people are like tagging you in like videos and stuff.
And it's like there's me. Yeah, so a lot of those videos I don't watch.
On top of the music you don't listen to. So just forget I was here.
I came, I conquered, kinda, then I left.
Right. You do a lot of your own like artwork for your like songs and like albums. What's that creative process like? Like how do you fit your album artwork to like the vibe of the song?
Um, Honestly, like the album artwork is like my favorite part. Um, because if I just have a theme of the song without even, I don't know. I don't even have to have like a hook yet. If I'm like, okay, this is what I want to, this is what, like, I start brainstorming, like, okay, if the song is going to be about this, then I think that the cover should look for No Down Payment, because my husband um, helped me write the song because he's like a creative genius and whatnot. And so it's just like, oh, like, not having to worry about bills, like all this is gonna pay off. So I just imagine myself standing on like a rooftop of some like luxury building, and I'm just looking over, just like, yeah, like this is the good life. No down payment. I paid in full. I don't know, just things like that. Same thing with like what else have I drawn? What haven't I drawn? Oh, like the one for Wednesday. I was like, okay, let's first I was gonna have because the high school we went to, it kind of looks like a church, kind of. I don't know, because it's got like this bell tower thing and it's like rounded. So I was gonna do like an illustration of us like kind of sitting up there and like smoking. But I was like, do I really want to draw my high school? No, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do that. So then I was like, okay, let's just do a classroom. We're
Mhm.
just in a classroom and there's Wednesday written on the board. And I was like, you know what? It's simple enough. And I don't know, it just worked.
Yeah. It fits the vibe.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll try to have at least like two ideas in mind for what I want like a cover to look like.
Mhm.
Um, I might start like sketching one. If it's not going the way that I want it to go, then I'm like, okay, well, let's try this other idea that I had. And then it's like, okay, well, this is cool. I can add little like details, like words on the poster, like go home. Oh my gosh, like homework, what? And yeah, just little things. I don't know. That's my favorite part of like the whole process of like putting out a song, just working on the art.
Is that something that you could see yourself doing like as your career progresses? Like, would you want to keep making your own album art?
I mean, definitely. I do it now just because I don't have to pay anyone to do it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, if I am gonna be like, putting money towards my music, I want it to go towards like the beats and the engineering and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's like I know I can't do the beats. I try my hand at like mixing and engineering.
Mhm.
It's all right. But I'm like, I know I can do the album art. Like that's like a definite. So I'm like, let me just work on this. And
Mhm.
yeah, so right now I can see myself doing it. Maybe just like collaborating with like other artists in the future just to like incorporate their style and mine and whatnot. But yeah,
Was music something you were always interested in creating?
definitely. Um, but it wasn't something that I guess I would like, I never really spoke about it. It was one of those things where I was a kid, since I was like super shy, it was one of those things where like I would constantly daydream about me like literally just like being on stage and performing, which is so like, I don't know, I don't really even like tell people that because it was just so out of the norm of like a Lauren behavior. Like, why would she want to be on stage? She doesn't even like to read in class. like what's going on? Yeah, so I was constantly just like, like music, performing. Like it seems like something that I would want to do, but I was like, oh, I'm not actually gonna do it. And growing up in my family, like my dad, he loves music. We're always listening to music. My mom, she loved music. My sister, she loves music. So I was always surrounded by music since like, you know, probably before birth, who knows. And so I was just absorbing a lot of these different like genres I was hearing. And so when I started writing poetry in like, I want to say like middle school. I started writing like little short stories in like elementary school. I was doing a lot of escapism because I hated school.
Same.
So when I started writing poetry, it was a lot of just like, like I'd rather be anywhere else or just dealing with like my emotions or writing about crushes I had. And I recently found some notebooks and I was like, whew, girl, that damn, it's that bad. And so I always knew that I wanted to write something. And even back then I was like, I want to write a song, but I didn't really know like how to start. And so I didn't start writing like actual, I guess, like legible songs until about like 2017 or so. So yeah, it took a while for me to get there, but now that I'm in it, I love it because it's like, wow, where are we going today, brain?
Mhm.
What are the ideas that are going to be flowing? So yeah.
And for my last question, because we have to know, what are the plans for 2022? What's coming out? What can we expect?
Wish I could tell you. Let's see. Let's see. My plans for the year have changed, but I want to release like maybe a couple singles. I've decided to like officially kind of like scrap my album that I was working on. I
Mhm.
might pluck a few songs that I really liked from
Mhm.
it and just maybe like release those as singles. But I do kind of want to work on like an EP or just like a smaller like project with
Mhm.
like maybe like 5 or 6 just like really solid songs. I've been very critical of myself for the last like week about the quality of my music. And so I'm just like, I don't want to put out anything that like I'll just not feel good about. Like I wanna not cringe when I hear my voice
Mhm.
for these for these next songs. Like I want to be like, oh okay, like I enjoy this.
Mhm.
Um, so those are kind of the plans. Just try to work on some sort of social media presence. I try to be on TikTok. But
Yeah.
it has its days.
Mhm.
Just trying to work on new skills. Yeah, I mean, taking my own photos. Maybe I'll like link up with a photographer or something.
Mhm.
Um, what else? What else? Yeah, just keep on ascending. Who knows? Maybe something will happen and I won't have to work a regular job anymore. But
That's cool.
that is. So, the year is just getting started. So I still got time, but I definitely want to do my best to make sure that I'm using my time as efficiently as I can.